YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We're gonna open this box right now, and it's gonna be amazing. So we're glad that you're here with us. If you're brand new to the channel, you open stuff up, and we see how awesome it really is. We're gonna find out right now. It's the Revolution 90 FP. So this is all new from Blade, a Horizon hobby product. And we're gonna see if this thing does everything they say it does. And the thing that's really cool about this is right now, the price point for helicopters is pretty high. There's a lot of them out there. And this thing is gonna get you in the door, skill level 1, fixed pitch. You don't have to worry about doing a bunch of crazy 3D. And it also helps you to learn to fly, which is really nice. So you can also use the transmitter for RealFlight. And they do give you a trainer edition. There's some limitations there, but it's gonna be, the transmitter will work for the full version if you buy it, which is kind of cool too. So, but without further ado, let's get in. I just don't want to forget to tell you about that later. Comes equipped with safe sensor-assisted flight envelope. Obviously got all sorts of information. You guys will get a trainer edition trial version of RealFlight. Ours is not going to have that because we have the full version of it. But as you can see, it comes with a screwdriver, a user's manual, and then a manual for, I believe, for the transmitter. So it's in there. And the thing that's nice about this, don't throw out the box because you should be able to pack everything that comes in this kit without any effort.
Nice.
So very nice. And one of the best parts of buying a Horizon product is good packaging. Just about guaranteed to get it in one piece unless FedEx like kicks it off of the ship or whatever. Okay, so as you can see, this is an SLT6. Now, one point that I just want to make sure you understand. This one here is not going to be DSMX or SLT, similar to what you've seen on the Apprentice Stoll. So if you have that, and then what's the other one that was doing both? It's dual protocol.
There's a couple that are going to have this one.
There's an ultra micro. I'm trying to think of, I'll think of it at some point.
Yeah, it'll come to us.
But anyway, so this transmitter is a mode 2. Okay, so this is your throttle or collective. And then this will be for the rudder, or in this case, the tail rotor. And then of course, lean forward, lean back, lean to the right, lean to the left. So that's called the cyclic.
Lean to the, say that.
Lean to the right, lean to the left. And there's flight modes. So there's beginner, which is gonna auto level. This is also gonna auto level, but you're gonna hold the stick in the center. Okay, so in beginner mode, this will be no throttle, no spinny, and then it'll spin. And then as you get to the top of the stick, it will spin more, so it'll go higher. But then when you go to this mode, it's gonna be altitude hold. And so you put the stick in the middle. This will bring you up, this will bring you down, but if you bring it all the way to the bottom, it will eventually shut off the motor. And same thing in that, which is really good because if you don't know how to fly helicopters like their big brothers, this is the Infusion. So the Infusion 360, or the Fusion 360 rather. This would be a real 3D style helicopter. This comes in Maiden Flight. And so of course you can see the way it flies. And we've got lots of other options that are coming from Blade. So we're super excited. This here being the Eclipse 360. So that also does 3D. And it's really exciting to bring you these new products. But as you advance through the ranks, this thing's gonna be great because it's gonna help teach you that 3 flight mode setup, which is true for most brands of helicopters too. And just to be clear, you won't be able to bind it to your NX, okay? But then this can become a simulator tool if you want, okay? And you've got enough switches to actually do things. And one of the things we really like about this product and Blade is that they're thinking through things like throttle cut or throttle hold. Throttle hold many times on helicopters, throttle cut on airplanes. This is called throttle cut. I use this switch H for my throttle cut, and you'll notice that they're in the same position, which is really nice, guys. We can't stress enough. NX70, another good option with recent firmware updates. Even though this is a 7-channel, it's actually got 14 channels on it. Even though this is an NX10, it's actually 20 channels, okay? So this thing here is gonna get the job done, but it's also gonna help teach your brain how to work. And that's important because muscle memory when flying helicopters is essential, okay? All right, so what else comes in the package? Looks like we have a little charger here. So this is a USB-C to micro pH 1S connector. And these things are kind of awkward to open. It's like opening a pill.
Blister pack
Yeah.
stuff.
So we're gonna pop that open and we'll just show you this. Now, obviously, as part of the unbox build radio setup on a normal helicopter, there'd be a considerable amount of radio setup to actually get your bind and fly set up. Or if it's a plug and fly, it's a lot more setup. Okay, so you don't need to be overwhelmed by that because we're gonna walk you through every step along the way, regardless of how much the factory does for you. In this case, it's gonna do everything, okay? Okay, so that comes out of the packaging, pretty simple stuff, so we'll just throw this away. Now we'll also show you some other charger options that aren't included with the package, but we're gonna bring that to your attention soon. And just look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots in your package ready to go. 150 milliamp hour, 1S, that's at 3.7 volts. It's actually gonna be 4.2 fully charged. And this is called a micro pH 1S connector. So let's get this plugged in. Ooh, and then of course the USB-A to USB-C. Mine is hungry here. That foam, get out of there, foam. Because that'll actually interfere with the connection. So if yours has foam in it, get it out of there. So real quick, I'm gonna show you this. USB-A speaks to the end, and mine has foam in there, so I'm gonna use a twisty tie to get that out of there. And then this is a USB-C. So if you're not privy to the connection styles, this is USB-C. So it can be flipped upside down or right side up, and it still plugs in. This is USB-A, so it only goes one direction. That's gonna be consistent with what you see on the side of the laptop or the desktop PC. And the USB-C will actually plug in here, okay? And that's gonna go out to the computer. So they've included a little bit longer cable so you can plug it into your tower. Now remember, RealFlight is a PC-based software, but if you have been intelligent enough to figure out how to use an emulator on some sort of an Apple product, please do share in the comments below so other people can copy suit. We don't use Macintosh products or Apple products at all, so I have no clue. So this will plug into the PC. You'll turn it on or off as usual, and then you'll be able to use this as a simulator controller, which is really nice. Now also, keep in mind you can buy a wireless dongle, and then you can use your actual NX10, your actual NX7E, or your iX20, or whatever it is that you happen to have in real time, which is really nice. So this also has a panic bind button here, okay? So it's up here similar to where the iSwitch is. We have trimmers, just like you would have for doing your trim work, okay? And then they have the dual rates, high and low. And you also notice that everything is clearly labeled on this transmitter. Now that is gonna be one of the biggest differences between this and the Chinese branded offerings, okay? Now I say branded because a lot of this stuff is still made in China, but the truth is it's made by Chinese people for American companies that have hired them to do so. So it's a step in the right direction. It's still Chinese made, but at the end of the day, that's where all this stuff is made. If you don't like it, make a plant. We will work with you, okay? We'll help get your stuff to market, and we would love to market your product. And guess what? These guys will also buy your product, and they'll sell it in the North American market and over in China, which is kind of cool. Role reversal. Okay, so real quick, we're gonna untape this thing. We're gonna take out the Heli. Oh, it's so cool. It's so little.
So tiny.
It's like the littlest one we've seen in a long time. And just look, it's like really little. Now, obviously, this is going to be sub 250. I mean, it's got to be like 60, 70 grams tops. And you can see long throw linear servos. They've got the updated new heavier duty bodies on those. Very small brushed motor, very small flight controller. And everything is very, very light, okay? So as you can see, this is a fixed pitch type, but it's still a fly barless controller, which is really cool. So that's super similar to the mechanism you're gonna see on bigger, more robust helicopters. Now that being said, we're very well versed in what's available right now. And we can tell you this is a very basic, it's gonna get you in the air, it's gonna be very simple. Oftentimes, I forget that that's really It's a harder skill than I remember it being, because I have an uncle in particular I can think of, and he watches our channel sometimes, so hopefully you're watching this, Don. And when I watch him fly a helicopter, I forget just how hard it was for me to actually teach him how to do just the basic controls. That's exactly what this is gonna be for. It's gonna be so light, it just doesn't damage itself. And also with the altitude hold function, in addition to safe, which is auto leveling, okay, keep this in mind, guys. Real helicopters, when you're into the full 3D style, they do not automatically level. They go like that in a million pieces.
Yeah.
So that's the way it really works. Auto leveling is a huge step up from that. And we also have a function called stabilization, which is where, you know, you get like a gust of wind from a fan. Again, this is kind of an indoor product. You're gonna have some air flowing through your living room. You may not realize it, but you've got a cool air return and you've got a supply over here. Maybe you've got an oven turned on, you've got an exhaust vent, bathroom ceiling fan, somebody opens the door, closes the door. It's kind of surprising. There's a lot of impact in that air current, okay? So one of the biggest things that you get in these American branded Chinese offerings is that you're gonna get batteries if they're from a North American distributor like this. So that's pretty cool. And these are actually nice batteries. They're much nicer than our Harbor Freight.
They don't buy them from Harbor Freight?
They don't. And you can tell, okay, guys, if you didn't already know this, little tidbit from Brian Phillips RC. If you wanna see how nice your batteries are, just take them and put them on a scale and measure how much chemical is in there. That's how you know how good the battery is or how junky it is. So like if you take a Harbor Freight battery that we buy for usually like pennies on the dollar, they're just so cheap and crappy. They are the worst. They'll run this thing for like 1 or 2 days and it'll be like half gone.
Yeah.
So it's really terrible. But we've also noticed because they're so terrible, they don't oftentimes leak. And so they don't damage our controllers, which we have hundreds of.
They die so fast.
They die so fast, there's just nothing left.
They just don't leak.
Okay, so these are pretty good batteries. The 4 AA's that are included do come in a full ready-to-fly package here, as you're used to seeing from ready-to-flies. They usually don't include batteries if you're getting the Chinese variety, okay? Right. So now, granted, that's not a huge cost component, but let's be real. These are pretty decent quality batteries, okay?
Or on Christmas morning when your kid opens it up, you're not searching in the cupboard looking for stuff.
Right.
It's all right there.
Negative is flat, positive is a bump. You can tell because it's indicated here with a green circle and a green circle. So the minus goes to the spring, which forces it up against the little bump, okay? And so you're just gonna do that there. If you're brand new to the hobby and you wanna learn how to fly, if you wanna learn how to get started, if you wanna learn step-by-step progression, you're at the right place. It's called Brian Phillips RC. We do this YouTube channel. We're about 2,100 videos deep. And no, it's not just short videos. These are, some of them are 10 hours long. Don't forget to edit in the echo, which is ridiculous. We agree. And there was time lapse in that one.
Yeah.
So there's your transmitter. It's ready to go. We've got the rest of the goodies. We're just going to literally put these back into the box. We're going to close this. And now, just to be clear, if you're wanting to know how to set up RealFlight, you download Steam and then you get a code on this page. So you'll pull your page out. So it's in this manual. Okay. And you'll look at this Steam code and there's going to be a password that's used, and it basically allows you to do it. Now, I'm just going to talk really quick. I noticed they have this thing in here about different rules and drone registry and things like that. Just to be clear, when you're flying indoors, you're pretty much allowed to do what you want to do. But before we get too far, let's talk about the weight of this vehicle. And that's going to be the sub 250 clause is if your scale or if your aircraft weighs less than 250 grams, then you're allowed to fly it outside of the drone registry. It's not of concern. Now, you still don't want to fly it around the airport and then, you know, when there's like a forest fire, 30 grams all up, that's crazy. So that's the battery being used and the helicopter. Now, you can use up to 200 milliamp hour batteries in this particular unit. And let's show you real quick while we're talking about this. You can charge your battery with this provided charger. There is a key that's going to allow you to line up and plug that in there. Now, this is such a light duty application. I am gonna show with the provided cable, and you do have to provide your own USB adapter. Now, we've been using this thing from Ruco lately, and so we're probably just gonna have this in our supplies link. It's a 65 watt plug-in AC adapter. Now, previously, AC adapter, meaning it goes to a USB-A, just like this. Well, the difference is, this one puts out 5 volts at 1 amp. This one puts out 3 simultaneously, so the USB-A is what we're using. Okay, so the USB-A, what does that put out? This one puts out USB-C, USB-A, 3 amps at 9 volts. Goodness gracious. 2 amps at 12 volts or 1.5 amps at 18 watts. Okay, so you can see this thing's gonna really put out power, and it also does that simultaneously, which is kind of nice. So we're trying to get into a charger adapter plug that's gonna give us a little bit faster charge times. So we'll show you that this works first, and then we'll show you with just the run of the mill. You know, I think this came with like our Wise Cam or something like that. Okay, so we can plug this in. And then that must mean it's charging because it's orange. Now also, if you look on the back, it's got information here. It says how much input, 5 volts at 1.5 amps max, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and unplug this. We'll use the provided cable, and we'll show you with just the run-of-the-mill style, okay? And then if it doesn't go to orange, then we'll know that we gave it too much power probably. Okay, so just plug it in. Looks like we're still alive. Now keep in mind, guys, it's kind of funny when they say a maximum input current. Current is demanded by a load in an electrical circuit. So if you have a motor that creates so much load, this is a demand, and it's demanded by the load, not by the source, okay? So interesting that they would put that right on the side, but generally speaking, it's more the minimum amount that you can produce before you cause problems. You want to make sure you meet the minimum requirements. You can generally apply more power within reason on smaller electronic circuits like this. Now that's going to charge, and while that's charging, I was going to show you this box can be closed. Now if you think I'm jumping around, that's because I am. When we do these videos, we just literally start from opening the box to the point where we close the box, everything is taken care of, and it's packed away, and we're ready to fly. Because at the end of the day, what we do on this channel is we help people get out of the chair and into the air. And that seems like a simple, catchy thing to say, but the truth is, many times we're so busy that we don't make time for ourselves and fun things like this, okay? So this is the type of thing where it's gonna be a guilt-free flight experience. And the thing that's really cool about it is if you take to this, you can use this experience and build on that experience until you're getting to where you really want to be, which might be a more sophisticated helicopter, or maybe it's not a sophisticated helicopter at all. Maybe it's just something you want to do while you're inside. It's windy or it's dark. As you can see, we're coming into the darker seasons here in the fall in central Iowa. Of course, you might be watching this in January or whatever when it's really depressing and dark. But as you can see, we got lots of helicopters we've reviewed in the past, and this is just the ones we've done in recent history. But obviously here on Brian Phillips RC, we specialize mostly on fixed wing, which would be airplanes, but we do helicopters, VTOLs, vertical takeoff or landing, and then we've done some drones and things like this as well. And then we do ground vehicles too, which would be cars, trucks, excavators, bulldozers, that sort of stuff for fun, tanks. And then we do boats recently because we just dug a pond recently. So if you're here with us and you're watching us just live this cool experience, remember, it all starts with the first step. And so if you're not willing to take the first step, you're not going to end up progressing and graduating to the next and following subsequent steps to get you where you want to be. And the truth is, it's harder than it looks. And if anybody tells you differently, they're trying to sell you something. So these are going to be fairly easy to fly, and you're going to be able to do it. Pretty much anybody can do it. The difference is that the consequences are always a lot bigger for people that don't have skills. Like this up on the wall there, you see that? That is from Brian Phillips RC crashing a helicopter into the wall. Now, depending on who your wife is and whether or not she's going to get upset about that, you'll have to determine whether or not you want to fly helicopters in your house. I can tell you this, that damage was caused by a helicopter that's 3 to 4 times bigger, okay? And I flew much larger helicopters when I was much less skilled, much less skilled. So if I can do it, you can do it. And the technology that's crammed into this exciting offering is gonna do exactly what you need to. Now, I don't know what the voltage is on this pack right now, and so we might need to pause. Oh, but I wanted to show you one other offering. This is another thing you can do if you wanna have a little bit better time charging your batteries. This is what I like to use, or what our kids like to use more importantly, when they like to go out and fly the little 400mm Warbirds, is they'll get out this Spectrum micro lipo charger. We have a link to this, of course, and we have links to all the items that we review on this channel. And if you want to buy something like this, just look down there. You can click on the link, and when you go out and investigate, maybe it's too expensive, maybe it's too, you want 2 of them because it's so cheap, or maybe you're just not sure. Well, you can look and decide how you want to do all your RC bucks and bonus programs and whatever it happens to be with whatever manufacturer it is that we're promoting at a time. You can follow our links, and all that happens is that they'll know that we sent you there, and then we earn small commissions when you buy the right plane at the right time for your reasons. Because if you're looking to buy a plane like this, you're probably not looking to buy a helicopter like that unless you want something to do in the off season or in your hotel room because you're a traveling salesman or whatever. So there's a million different reasons why people might want a product like this. But if you're coming for that Carbon Z T28, it's probably not going to be the same reasons that you're buying this little SLT 6 transmitter and helicopter ready to fly combo, okay? It's just going to be, everybody's got different reasons for what they want. And there's one really good reason coming right around the corner, and that's called Christmas. And I know you want to get gifts for people that you can enjoy with them. And so this would be a perfect offering in that regard, because if you get somebody that gets hooked, all you got to do is set them up with the transmitter, and then they hook it to the computer, they put in their code, they use their 100 hours of this trainer edition. It's a limited time offering is what it is. Then you can learn how to fly with super low consequence and for a very tight budget. Speaking of budget, this little charger will help you take one of many little batteries. In fact, I'll bring one out right now. So this is another offering in a similar size class, okay? And what you'll do is you'll plug it into the one that says UM. You wanna make sure you get your polarity right. And so what you do is you just kind of look at this, and there's a little bump right there. That bump is gonna go down like that. And then you'll plug that in and you click, this says LiPo for lithium polymer. You can also do lithium metal hydrate, I think. But lithium polymer, we'll click, and then we can scroll in 0.21 amps. And that is gonna be the size of this battery, which is 210 milliamps, or 0.21 amps. Hence, you type in 0.21, you press and hold that for a second, it starts the charge sequence, and you're ready to rock and roll. Then, as your kids go out and fly, they can bring in their batteries that are spent. I usually like to put a little cup here. They put the spent batteries in, and then you take care of charging them. Keep close eyesight, hearing distance, so that just in case something would go sideways. Remember, there's really not much danger in flying these helicopters, but you want to be careful with LiPos in general. We have many of them, and as you can see, when you have many LiPos, this one is slightly bigger. This is 5,000 milliamp hours, and it's a 6S battery, okay? So this is 150 milliamp hours, 1S. So there's one 150 milliamp hour cell. This is 6 5,000 milliamp hour cell in series. So it's a considerably bigger battery, and that's just one of a few that are sitting here, okay? So 2 big safety factors: props, don't get cut; batteries, keep an eye on them, keep it here, and use a hard surface. If you're brand new to the hobby and you haven't learned about batteries, this is a great place to be on our channel. We'll help teach you what you didn't want to learn, but you should know. And we'll also teach you what you didn't know you should learn because you need to. You'll notice that you need to know both. It's not fun to learn about batteries unless you're into batteries, but it is fun to fly. So without further ado, 4.2 volts is going to be fully charged. So here pretty soon this is going to switch to a green light. It's going to beep at us. And then this one here, which is provided with the ready to fly, is going to pop off and show us a green light. But I'm going to go ahead and interrupt for a moment just to show you that you can charge more than one. So LiPo. Okay, so we'll plug that one in. We'll click. And this one is 150 milliamp hours. So you can charge at 1C would be the same reading. So you can see it's at 3.86, 3.87. So when it gets to about 4.2, that's going to be done. So it'll beep here in just a second. But just to be clear, you can use the provided charger, and you can see it's kind of got this green. Yeah, it's saying like, hey, you interrupted the charge sequence. Now there's also a manual that's going to indicate all the different settings, and you can scan this QR code if you want, or you can go ahead and just get the manual out of the packaging. Either way is fine with us. So if you have questions about a product you see on Brian Phillips RC, leave in the comments below. We'll try to answer your questions for you. But we're here and we aim to please people that are coming into the hobby. We want to help get you ready to go. We've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of other people just like you that didn't think they could do it to do it. Okay, and we've met them in person, many of them, because we go to events and we interact with people, and we love meeting our audience at events like Joe Knoll or RC Fest out in Illinois, which is actually sponsored and run by Horizon Hobby, which is a blade product. So that's pretty cool. And we've met many of you there. So it's been really fun to do that. And we hope to see you at the next RC Fest. But if you have any additional questions or comments, or if you just want to give us a shout out, say, hey, thanks for doing what you do. There's 4 other ways you can support us. If you don't want to buy the products, that's one easy way to support us. But we just don't want you to buy just anything because we do a video about it, because if you did, you'd be broke, because we do lots of videos about lots of different planes that are probably not for you, or maybe they are. But the second, third, fourth, and fifth best way would be YouTube Super Thanks, one-time donations, YouTube members. Thanks for being members monthly and supporting us monthly. Patreon. Great way to get in touch with us because you're not sorting through thousands of comments in a given week. You'll just be one of a handful of people. There's probably 60, 70 people on Patreon.
Something like that.
So it really does help, and it adds up. It doesn't need to be a lot. And then, of course, PayPal for one-time donations. But just remember, we're friends and family unless you like to give PayPal more money, which is pretty stupid, but that's the way they do it. So at the end of the day, the best way to support Brian Phillips RC and the things that we do RC would be to buy the amazing, awesome little fun products that we review. Whether it's this or something much bigger, which by the way, the Fusion 360 is a great offering. The Eclipse 360 is a super fun foam offering that's a little bit more of like a scale futuristic helicopter, but that's not saying that you couldn't just go right to a 700 size, which is like this big and bigger than I've flown. And by the way, you start getting up to like 6, 8, 12S, you're talking about bigger than I've actually ever flown. Well, except I have flown one.
Technically.
7.
A few seconds.
Yeah, it was a few seconds, just long enough to scare me to death. Because those are like, you know, $1,800 helicopters.
Yeah.
So, and that's if you have
not yours.
all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So it gets to being very expensive. And the consequence ratio on a helicopter is very high to mistake. Consequence to mistake ratio is huge. On airplanes, it's big, but it's a lot less. On RC cars, it's virtually nil. On trucks, boats, things like that might be a little bit, you know, just depends on where you are on the sliding scale of tolerance for risk. So without further ado, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and just pull out this battery. It's at 3.91 volts. So that's actually gonna be getting close to the end of the charge cycle over here. But I think we wanna show it stock. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this. See how it says 3.3? That just means you pulled it out before it was done charging. Now this is not fully charged, so full disclosure, I'm gonna show you what this thing can do, but I wanna show it with this battery, and then we'll probably jump into that when it dies. Then we can also demonstrate how the battery dies. One of the biggest, most important things about these RC helis is how long a warning do you get before it falls out of the sky?
Yeah.
Some of them are really bad, some of them are really good, and I don't know what this one's gonna be. So, little grommets, pop that off, then pop this off. It just pulls out. It's very, very light duty. Okay, once that's pulled off, you've got this big monstrosity of an adapt. I think we might need to go with scissors and just see kind of how the scissors work with this label. This is what is that, an FCC label it looks like. So I'm just gonna do that real quick and see if we can, oh, dang it, cut it off. And then I think this might be a product sample label. So we're gonna pull that off as well. It's just a little tape. If you guys didn't know this, because many times we're reviewing products before they're released, that means that we end up getting product samples after product development is done with them. And so that means that the early samples can get shipped to us in time for us to do videos. Okay, so how do you load the battery? Let's take a look at this together. So there is a place right here where you can slide your battery in. Now, of course, that's gonna work for any of the sizes that are the same dimensionally here. You're just very careful because this is light duty plastic, okay? And then this just goes in. I believe it goes like that, but you see what's happened to my label? You see that little bind?
Oh, it's squished up.
I'm gonna pull this down and then I'm gonna use my finger to push that, okay? So this is a 50, I don't think I said that earlier, it's a 50C pack, okay? So 50C pack means it will discharge quickly, and that's good for helicopters, quads, drones, VTOLs, that sort of thing. The things that might draw a little bit more power on demand quickly. But it is just, every time I slide it in, it's wanting to push that back. I wonder if I can just try it the other way. I'll try it this way and see if that helps. Now yours, of course, is gonna be the first go around, so it might not be, oh, there it goes. Okay, so I just flipped mine upside down, made a big improvement. And then this is keyed as well. So you can see that there is that little wide opening there. That's gonna be like this. And once you get it figured out, you can plug it in like really super easy. Okay, so plug it in. Ooh, came to life now. Normally you wanna have your transmitter on first, so I apologize for not having showed that. Generically speaking, move the stick over here. My throttle hold is, or throttle cut in this case, is on. So we can trust that it'll be safe. You can also see this little green light is illuminated. So that must mean that we have a connection, okay? So now I'm gonna just slide these right on, these little grommets. You guys, if you like this whole start to finish style RC review footage, then don't forget to smash the like button. And real quick before we take off, we'll just show you this is full. And that's why I like these 4-way chargers, because now you've got another battery. As soon as this one dies, which will be quick because it's only at 3.9, it should be going to about 4.2. Okay, so taking off will be a breeze because we basically just have to turn off our throttle cut, which is over here, of just moving the sticks to see this all move. And it's definitely working. Now I'm gonna just throttle up by moving the stick up, okay? There it goes. Get it spun up to speed, about 50% up the stick. Oh yeah, rock solid. Wow. Rock solid performance. Very easy to fly. And you see that bobbing? If you have trouble with that as you're beginning and learning how to fly, very nice. Very easy to fly. So this has SAFE, so sensor assisted flight envelope in all 3 modes. Okay. And so as I use my rudder, it's gonna spin around like that. And then if I wanna tip it toward the camera crew, I can lean it forward with my right thumb pushing forward, and then you can coordinate your controls. And it's very, very good controls. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from this flight mode 0 to flight mode 1. Now you see it goes to a fast flash, if you can't see that, and it's when it's in the transition, now that's gonna altitude hold. Okay, so you may have to get it into a tight position before that altitude hold would really hold. So when you move the stick up, now that's gonna climb. It's gonna climb just a little bit, and then when you move the stick down relative the center, it's gonna move down. Okay, then you can fly just like you were before. The only difference is just remember there is a very muted response on the up and down, okay? So I'm gonna just take a landing real quick, and when I do a landing, all I have to do is just move the stick. I'll try to make it so the camera crew can see. So just move the stick down, and then eventually it kills the motor rotation. So pretty simple stuff. And just so I don't have this thing blowing around the room, I'm gonna throw it in the box. Now keep in mind, there's also another mode, and that's gonna be the flight mode 2. So there's 2, 1, and 0, okay? So I'll take off in flight mode 1 with the altitude hold, to show you how that works. So I move the stick to about 50% and then I stop, okay? So very simple, very basic. Now I can also tell you this just from personal experience, this helicopter is probably not gonna hurt me if I were to touch it. I'm not saying test it on your dog, but I am definitely saying if it doesn't hit you in the eye, you're probably gonna be okay. This thing is very light on the prop size, okay? Now the other thing too is that means that there's less likelihood of damage, which I'll demonstrate at some point, but I'm gonna do the third setting, which is flight mode 2. Okay, so now this is gonna hold even tighter, I assume. So we've got a little bit more up and down authority. And so this thing, as you can tell, is not gonna be doing 3D because it has a fixed pitch on the rotor, okay? So you can see, very easy to fly. It's gonna hold that tail right where you want it. And then as you kind of yaw the aircraft and coordinate your turns, let's show them a coordinated turn here. So when I move both sticks both ways, you can see it leans the helicopter, so it rolls into the turn, and you might need to give a little bit more rudder to make it look more aggressive, and a little bit of down. And then you can just do this. When you let go, it's gonna find its home position and just relax there. Okay, now if this stick is up, it's not spring loaded to the center, it's gonna go to the bottom. Excuse me, it's not gonna go up or down, it's not spring loaded, okay? So now I'm gonna use the stick to go down. And see, once you get past center, it's gonna start lowering. So pretty simple. Oop, oop. That's what we were talking about. So now, as soon as you see the light start flashing, move your stick down or go to throttle cut. So I went to throttle cut, and there you have it. So now it's giving us this fast flash, and we're gonna switch to a bigger battery. Now that was admittedly a pretty short flight, but we knew it was gonna be because we hadn't charged long, okay? So now we'll pop this off and show you the exact same process, and then we'll probably have the camera crew just give it a shot too for a second. Okay, so unplugging. You can hear it's de-energized because it stops correcting. Then you're just gonna carefully hold somewhere and then slide that out. Now I do wanna warn you, if you've got big meat hands like me from working on big heavy industrial equipment, then be careful because this stuff it's very small, okay? Small and light and dainty, okay? Now I just wanna show you this too. This battery says, I don't think it says, it does not give us an indication of how fast you can charge it, how many C you can go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna plug this in. I'm gonna click and I'm gonna scroll this down to 1.5, pressing and holding, and then it's gonna start the charge sequence. Now this 210, which I suppose will probably link to the battery choices, even though it comes with a battery, you might wanna buy an extra one. And this one here, we're gonna just slide in the same way we did. I did admittedly put this with the label down, which might help a little bit with plugging it in. So I'm gonna just slide that out of the little clip. And then this is gonna go like that.
And while you're plugging that in, you mentioned if you have big hands. Same thing if you have a younger kid, they need to be careful, to be gentle with their connectors.
Oh yeah.
That's been the biggest thing with our youngest, is teaching him to be careful with the battery connectors and the wires.
And this is not a JST connector. I mean, it is still technically a JST micro pH connector, but it's small and not very sturdy. So just be aware of that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to flight mode 0.
Okay. So
all the way away from my body. I'm just gonna take off again. Okay, so now it's not starting. That's because I have throttle cut on, or throttle hold. So now I shut that off, and I give it some throttle. And as you can see, even with that bigger battery, we're just fine. And so I'll just do a couple of quick sorties around the room. As you can see, the rudder is really working hard to stabilize as soon as I let go, okay? So now, some of you might be seeing that bobbing. The bobbing is actually going to be a result of me not giving enough stick input quick enough. And so that's one of those things that's gonna help you build some skill, but it's gonna be easy to build the skill with this helicopter because it's a relatively easy to fly helicopter. Now, just for grins and giggles, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this couch. Let's go ahead and crash. I'm gonna crash into the pillow, okay? I'm gonna try to hit the blades. There's a cat there. Okay, so now I cut the throttle and I'm gonna go pick it up and just show you there was nothing in terms of damage there, okay? We'll just take back off. Remember, when you have a light helicopter, there's not as much to break, but it's light, okay? So now I'll take back off and everything is working perfectly fine. Now, we could have hit the back of the couch, it's leather. You want me to just, you know what, whatever, I'll take one for the team. There it is, guys, throttle cut, throttle stick down. Just be intelligent with your throttle after you have an accident. If you have kids flying, make sure you instill in them to do the throttle cut. It'll help protect their fingers too. Okay, now, here we go, we'll take off. Now, I'm pretty confident. Should I just whack it with my hand? Should we let the cat do it?
Let the cat do it.
So, I'm pretty sure I can do it. Guys, you don't want to stick your fingers into the blades of a helicopter because here's the thing. If you're trying to learn how to control an aircraft, what you don't want to do is build bad habits, like sticking your hand in the prop.
Right.
And so I guess I probably shouldn't do that even though I really want to Enrique this. This is an Enrique move, okay? Now, you'll notice that I did that. I was careful to cut my throttle and I turned the throttle cut on. I just want to talk also about center of gravity. Helicopters, we don't oftentimes worry about center of gravity, but this battery is pretty big compared to the first one. So what you can do is you can turn that blade sideways on the main rotor, and then if it balances close, then you're pretty much ready to rock and roll. On an airplane, we usually mark the wings so we can balance it on our fingers. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take off. I'm gonna go to the top mode and see if there's any difference. There is a transitionary state where the light flashes. If you guys didn't pick up on that, let's show you that. Oops. So as I switch from this mode, there's a flashing sequence and it just flashes the one time. Okay, so I'm gonna take back off. Okay, so this is gonna be now where you have to go above 50% on the collective to go up and below to go down. And just what's gonna happen is if you try to go below 0 or too low, I'm gonna show you what happens. I'll try to land on the pillow, I don't think it'll damage it. But if you're trying to lose altitude quick, okay, and you chop that throttle, look at that. Throttle holds on. So I'm gonna go back to the beginner or flight mode 0, and you can see no damage. So if you guys are connecting the dots, this is an easy to fly, beginner, entry-level helicopter offering, okay? I just wanna remind you, there's many, many helicopter options on the interwebs, okay? There are many that are gonna claim to do a lot of the things that we've just done. Some of them will. Some of them will be either more expensive and some will be cheaper, but they maybe won't do as good a job at not being broken. Also, I wasn't super happy with the warning we got for the low battery.
Yes.
So that's something to keep in mind if you happen to fly over a pond, for instance, like we do routinely. Okay, throttle holds off, I'm gonna take back off. So I really like the first mode the best. I think it's the most fun. I also think that the helicopter is, okay, so there's the maximum you can spin that, okay? Now I'm gonna go the other way. It's pretty even, which is nice. So if you hold that stick all the way over, just remember, you're gonna get that bobbing because you gotta really hold that throttle or collective position exactly where you want it. So as you can see, this helicopter is gonna be a really nice beginner option for somebody for Christmas 2024. But if you want it before that, all you have to do is check out the links in the video description below and you can do all sorts of fun. Now I wanna show you guys a blast of power here. Camera crew's gonna step back and I'm gonna bring it over to the floor right in front of her and I'm gonna just go full throttle for just a second. So as you can see, you can really get aggressive with the lift. And yes, that 50C pack does a pretty dang good job of giving aggressive lift. I can't believe how good that was actually. So there's full throttle and then out of it. And then it just recovers super fast, which is
does.
awesome. And so if you guys don't know anything about my piloting skills or lack therein with helicopters, I'm definitely not a 3D pilot. And so I don't even really hardly ever do it. But I can definitely say this helicopter is easy to fly. But is it easy enough to fly for the average Joe? I think the average Joe would be able to get into this helicopter and practice and find some level of success. But that's still a helicopter, okay? So you're still flying it, and I like that. It's not a complete gimme, but with the auto leveling, it's pretty locked in. Okay, so camera crew is gonna fly for a second, throttle cuts on. She loves it when I ever fly.
It's my favorite.
So you look like you would like to knock that thing out of the sky.
I'm sure he would. Okay, so I'm in beginner mode.
Yes, beginner mode.
Okay.
It's not beginner mode, they're all beginner mode.
Well, they're all beginner mode.
So this
but-
is just like the regular throttle up. This would be like the altitude hold, so then this stick position would be in the center. Keep in mind we have the throttle cut on, which is towards your belly.
Yep.
Okay. So if you were going to take off right now, you would move this off, and then you would take off as usual. But I would suggest
I want to be in that mode.
for the average beginner, you're going to take off there, which is better because you don't want to take off in idle up mode in a regular helicopter. Now remember, if you crash, it's okay. Just don't crash into my face hole.
Okay.
Okay, throttle down. That's what many of you will do, and then it's going to turn into an experience that you'll remember, which is pretty cool. Okay, so you want to give it another shot?
Learning to fly is all about throttle management, which I'm terrible at.
Okay, then do the altitude hold. Do you need help hitting the button?
No, I was going to try and actually do it.
Okay, you got it.
Oh.
And as you can see, it hasn't died yet.
Nope.
Okay, so that's the important part, and I can't stress this enough. That's a big deal.
So if I go to this.
Go to that.
Okay.
Now.
Then, but I have to go above 50% before it's going to take off.
Take off like you meant to before,
okay.
Except it'll be more successful. Now, when you get to a reasonable height and kind of like help it stop.
Okay.
See, now that's going to take the bobbing out. So now, is that easier or harder?
It is easier because then I don't have to think about it so actively. I would not walk so close to me. You are not as good as a camera crew.
So, as you can see, the camera crew is really flying. And guys, she doesn't fly often, but when she flies, it's because I asked her to do it.
I don't like flying on camera because I'm not very good at it.
So now do me a favor and don't crash, but just yaw the helicopter all the way around here and just point it at us. Now let go of the yaw and see what happens. What happens?
It just like snaps back.
It just stops. And you'll see sometimes a snappy response. If in doubt, let go of the sticks.
Yeah.
Just like actually let go, okay? Now point your collective down just a little bit and just land it right here, okay? So there you go. All the way down.
And then throttle cut is on.
Now, you can see all you had to do was put that stick down, right? Okay, good. So, if Megan can do it, then you can do it, okay?
Yes.
Because even though she lives with me, that doesn't mean she knows how to do this, okay?
No.
So because I want to keep flying, I'm going to fly as we talk. So at the end of the day, is this going to be, you know, the best 3D performer you've ever seen? Absolutely not, because it's not going to do that at all.
Right.
Is it going to be the most stout beginner helicopter in the history of time? I don't know if I'd say that. But is it going to get the job done? Heck yes. And it's going to do a good job of it. It's going to be something that's serviceable, and that's one of the reasons why we like getting Blade products into the rotation, because you'll be able to get spare parts, and you don't have to worry about, you know, in 2 weeks, it's discontinued and it's being sold under another brand.
Yep.
That is one of the reasons that you're going to get more value out of this than you might out of a competitive offering. Now, here on Brian Phillips RC, we're not bought, owned. We don't have to say this or have to say that about any particular product. When we work with these companies, part of our deal is we give truthful reviews, okay? The full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. Now, would we like you to buy this to help support us financially? Sure we would. But you could also buy, you know, a $600 plane. You know, it doesn't hurt our feelings if you do that. At the end of the day, we just really want you to be flying, because if you start here, you're gonna find better success than if you start here. And even this is another Infusion 120. So it's a much more sophisticated helicopter, okay? This is brushless. It's got all sorts of amazing products. Look, brushless tail rotor, and it's gonna give you a much better flight experience if you're more skilled as a pilot. You can also flip this over and do crazy tricks, fly it upside down, all the different bells and whistles. And look at this, you've got a brushless motor here, you got a brushless motor here. It's just everything that you're wanting as a beginner. But if you start with the Eclipse 360, you might crash it and have a pretty high consequence crash, okay? So that's part of the reason why we push starting where you need to be, okay? Which is beginner helicopter, okay? Helicopters are hard to fly, even easy to fly are hard to fly, okay? Compared to airplanes. The difference between an airplane and a helicopter is an airplane needs to keep going a direction, okay? If you stop going a direction, it falls, and it just doesn't fall straight down. It falls into a tree, it crashes into a house, it crashes into the yard, it gets broken on landing. There's lots of different things you have to do on an airplane that you don't have to do on a helicopter. A helicopter can take up a very small space. Oh, for those of you that want to see it fly without the body, we'll do that real quick for you. So at the end of the day, we just want you guys to get what's going to be right for your skill level and what's going to get you flying today. Because everybody that wants to fly has to start somewhere, okay? That's a non-negotiable. Now, you know what's not negotiable is our disdain for the companies that want to sell you the wrong product just to make a quick buck. Because here's the thing, our hobby demands that you're buying something that you're going to find success in. Because what happens is, if you don't get the right product, you're going to become what we call one and dones. And one and dones are people that buy, I'm going to just give you an example. This F280, which is a Yuzhang product, it's a competitive offering. That thing is way more helicopter than you can handle as a beginner. I promise you.
Yeah.
Is it a bad offering? No. Is it really good? Just like the M4. It's a great offering. It's a lot more than you can handle. Now, we'll help you set it up. And you don't need a ton of experience to be able to fly either of those two offerings, because they'll still have a similar auto leveling feature. But they're, first of all, a lot more expensive, like to the tune of 5, 6, 7 times more expensive, okay? And that's because at the end of the day, if it's not right for you, just don't start there. End there, advance to there, but don't start there, because we don't want you to be a one and done. Why is that bad for the hobby? Because one and dones don't just scare you off for today. They scare you off for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And if we're lucky, we'll get you back into the fold after you've come back and kind of forgotten about the pain and suffering of crashing a $600 or $700 helicopter, or worse yet, a $2,000 helicopter, or a $1,900 helicopter with 2 of these in it. Okay, in series. So then you're talking about a $2,000+ helicopter. Not to mention you get hurt on those too, because they're big. Okay, so don't buy the wrong helicopter. Don't buy the wrong airplane. You're just going to regret it, and it's going to lead to failure. So that's why we preach every video. Is this the right plane for you? Okay, is that Viper jet? Is that Viper 64 millimeter gonna be the right jet for you? Maybe. Is it a beginner jet? I wouldn't say that. The manufacturer might, but I'm not gonna say that. A Habu would be a great beginner jet. That's a close second maybe, but it's still not beginner, not in my opinion. And by the way, one thing you can get as a beginner that you don't need as a beginner as you advance through the ranks, and I'm saying this for not this helicopter because it won't work with this one, would be to get your programmable transmitter as early and as often as you can, okay? Because I have almost 240 models in this thing. I'm about to run out of model memory because it's got a 250 model limit, okay? That is the best money you're gonna spend. If you spend, no matter, if this was $2,000, which is not, it's like less than a quarter of that, that'd still be a good value for 250 planes, because you spread that across. This thing here is very inexpensive, and it's gonna work for this one item. But the thing is, as you advance through the ranks, you can use this for other bind and fly ultra micros that are gonna be released that will work with this, which is pretty cool. Am I gonna suggest that you get Ready to fly? Probably, because it's going to be a little easier for you to just open the box and have a good time. Plus, because you can use this as a simulator cable, cable included, you can use that for your simulator on the computer. It's going to be a great fit, okay? So hopefully we've hit on all the high notes about this helicopter. Hopefully you guys will enjoy one yourself. Also, just want to review some of the reasons why this is a beginner and it's inexpensive. It's a brushed motor. Brushless is better, okay? This has brushes that will eventually fail. The cool thing is you can replace that part. It's very easy. There's one plug right there. I started and learned to fly airplanes almost predominantly on it was a Super Cub, not the Super Cub.
Sport Cub.
Sport Cub S UMX, and I went through like 7 or 8 motors.
Yep.
I was flying the literal motor out of it. And then eventually I took that and a Habu, a plane I had no business flying, and I turned my Sport Cub into a Spaboo because I killed my Habu. Fortunately, I had enough skin in the game and I was loving it enough that I didn't fail. I didn't quit. I wasn't a one and done because that Habu was like my 3rd or 4th plane. Was it the wrong fit for me at the time? Yeah, yes. It was. But you know what? The Habu's been completely redesigned and now you could almost learn to fly on a Habu 70, a Habu STS. It's red and white predominantly. They also have a Habu SS, which is yellow and white, and it's gonna fly on 6S or on 4S, right?
I think it's 4S.
Yes, and 6S, that's right. But the Habu STS is gonna fly on 3S and 4S, which means it's gonna be a lot cheaper to battery. Or even better, you can get the 50 millimeter. It's a smaller EDF, so the fan is smaller. And that's like the cheapest of the 3 offerings. But guess what? We want you to get the right thing for you. If you're looking for something that's an everyday flyer and you fly off of a grass ops and you pull the gear and you don't throw caution to the wind, you don't need retracts, the Habu would be a great plane for you. I would just go straight to the SS. You can have all the great flying characteristics. You can fly it on 6S like crazy, really fast, okay? But if you're just looking for something to train with and you've already got a transmitter like that, just get the 50 millimeter, get it, it's cheaper to battery, and then you can advance through that option as you get good. Really good beginner EDF, but honestly, quite literally, a beginner plane. We're gonna give you guys the no BS, down to earth, step by step by step, so you have an unboxed to a flight on Brian Phillips RC. So if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, don't forget to smash the like button and then click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe so you can be notified of new content. Just keep in mind, not every video we do is for beginners. We're gonna teach even a beginner exactly how to set up this, one of the most expensive and necessary tools. And we're also gonna teach you some basics on LiPo safety, how to charge, how to actually get the most out of this hobby, because there are a lot of technical jargon that the manufacturers are gonna assume you know. You won't, okay? And we're gonna help you understand that RTF means ready to fly. That means you're probably gonna get these awesome batteries with it, okay? But guess what? We're also gonna show you other competitive offerings that don't come with batteries so that you understand you gotta provide your own crappy Harbor Freight batteries, okay? We're also gonna show you that the stuff goes back into the package or not, so you can answer these questions that might help you make a purchase decision. And if we helped you make a purchase decision, one of the best ways you could pat us on the back, remember this is a family affair, we got 6 people involved in these videos, 4 of them are in their rooms playing tablets. I know, like, they're suffering badly right now.
Terrible.
But at the end of the day, they are invested in this channel just like we are. They just aren't always in front of the camera. And same thing with the camera crew. My wife of over 2 decades, yes, we're old, holds a camera and points it at me while I play with toys. This is, you could have a worse gig. Now, I do have a day job. I work for a living on industrial scales. I'm a technical guy. And so if I'm speaking over your head, my apologies. I try to get the video right for who we're trying to reach. And so we hope we reached the right people at the right time. So you can get one of these for yourself, or maybe as a gift for a kid, grandkid, friend, spouse, etc. You name it, it's right there, it's ready to go. And then just don't forget that it's not just a helicopter you're gonna get with this. you're gonna get included with that bundle access to RealFlight, which is a simulator that runs on a PC. And it's pretty cool. So what we'll probably do is we'll pause now. We'll actually set up that transmitter so you can see how it works right now. Okay, so when you first hook up to Steam, you're gonna get an error that says, please connect a RealFlight controller. So what you'll do is you'll plug in this USB port right here. This is with the provided cable. And then you'll just basically plug that into an appropriate USB port on your computer. And then once it plugs in, it's gonna set up the device. It's gonna say we're setting up SLT6. And then basically you just hit retry and then it'll load. So we'll start this up. All right, so that's gonna ask you to please calibrate your controller. So you'll hit next. And you're basically going to move all the centers, move all the controls to all the edges, and make sure your trims are in the center, which are from these sliders, okay? And so right now you can see the stick is not responding yet. So once you've moved them all the switches to all the positions, okay? And you can see even that button matters. Then you can hit next. Then you can see all the axis of control are moving. It doesn't look like, okay? So even that is working, okay? Now you can hit finish. Do you want to save? Yes. Then I'm gonna select an aircraft. Oh, look at that, there's a Habu. So we'll fly that right now. So, here we go. Now I'm not in trainer mode because we have the full mode, but you can see I have safe on. And as you can see, we'll just land this in safe. And then what we'll do is we will take it out of safe. Okay, flare for the landing. There it is. It's really as easy as that. Now I'm gonna go to experienced, AS3X only mode. And now we should be able to flip the plane upside down. We can do all the different fun things we wanna do. Flying ultra close, just like in real life. And then we can bring it around and we'll land the plane just like we wanna learn how to fly. And so of course we're doing this just so you guys have an idea of how RealFlight works. And it's basically just as easy as that, okay? So then you can learn how to fly using this provided controller, which is pretty cool. So remember, it's not just gonna be for your helicopter, even though that's what this video is about. This transmitter is gonna be used to really help get you from the chair into the air. And so all you have to do is install Steam and then download the trainer, which is gonna be the trainer edition, is gonna be through that barcode or a password that is included on the paperwork inside of the helicopter. So there you have it, the Revolution 90 FP, which is pretty cool. And I think you should check it out. If you think you want to get one of these, the links are going to be included in the video description for the ready to fly package. We'll probably go ahead and link to the 210 milliamp hour pack that we also used. And then we'll link to this small micro LiPo charger as well. And then we'll probably, just because we showed it, we'll include that so you don't have to search too far. Now, if you're looking for something you didn't see in this video, but you know that we've reviewed it in the recent past, or maybe something you saw a long time ago and you're having trouble finding it on playlists here on YouTube, one of the best ways you can find what you're looking for is navigate to bprcme.com. So we have, it's .me. Just press enter, it'll load our website. You can also type in brianphillipsrc.com, which is our website as well. It's just that it's a little harder to type that because you have to know how to spell my name, which is BrianPhillips.com. Or you can just do Brian Phillips, BPRC.me. It'll bring you to the same place. And then you can search by type. You can search by affiliate or a company that we worked with for a particular video, and you can find the exact product you're looking for. You can see our full, no BS review of that experience, and you can follow the links there to buy stuff. And we also have links underneath each of the thumbnails that are for the playlist. Okay, so example, would be if we were going to be doing this Waco. This Waco is going to be an amazing ultra micro offering. Of course, my son loves flying this. He always loves flying the red and white one, but if you wanted the yellow and black one, we'll have an unbox, build, and radio setup video, as well as the flights. And I think we have a couple other flights for this.
Yeah, we have several.
But then some videos, like for instance, the Fusion 360 over there, or the Eclipse 360, which by the way, if you didn't know that speaks to the size of the blade set on a helicopter. So you can find exactly what you're looking. That would be an unbox, build, radio setup. And that would have been a bind and fly helicopter. So we'll show you how to set up the programmable transmitter so you can kind of see what you're getting into, but just keep in mind things are always changing. They're getting easier in a lot of ways, and sometimes they get a little bit more complicated in other ways. Don't be afraid of the complexity. We'll help you through it, okay? We'll literally take you from the chair to the air, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of stuff in this hobby that can be really intimidating, and it is hard to fly when you're first starting, but then after a few months, you'll be like, hey, I'm getting the hang of this. I want something a little bit more sophisticated. We're gonna help you pick the next step that's gonna be right there and invigorating and exciting. And believe me, when you're brand new to the hobby, you're gonna be dying every time you're driving to work and you see a flag that's limp like this, because it's the best time to fly when you're beginning and learning how to fly. And so we'll be right here waiting for you when you're ready at Brian Phillips RC. So we hope we answered all your questions. Another really cool offering from Blade. Check it out, links in the video description below. And yes, you'll never find a more long-winded channel than Brian Phillips RC, but we hope that the long wind is gonna help you answer enough questions to make it a valuable transaction for you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget on the way out to smash the like button, click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe, and then obviously buy the stuff from the links in the video description below, or support us on Patreon, PayPal, YouTube Super Thanks, and YouTube members are always welcome, and excellent ways to help support us in what we're doing here on Brian Phillips RC. Don't forget to leave your questions and comments in the comments section down below, and we'll be here ready to rock and roll for the next video on Brian Phillips RC. It's right around the corner, so stay tuned, and thanks so much for watching. Come back for more.